A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Welcome to another edition of Bearing Arms, Cam and Company. My name is Cam Edwards. I'm glad that you're with us today. You know, we've got that right to keep and bear arms, but do we have the availability to keep and bear arms? Can you find firearms on your store shelves? Can you find ammunition when you are going to your local gun store? We're going to be talking about that coming up in just a matter of moments. But before we do, we do have some news for you. The Trump campaign is a special offer just for you. President Trump really wants to give you a signed 2020 Make America Great Again hat. He wants to make sure that the lucky winner is one of his top supporters. So be sure to enter soon, because this is an opportunity that you don't want to miss. This offer is only going to a select group of supporters. You are one of them. And all you have to do is text ARMS to 88022 today for your chance to win a signed 2020 Make America Great Again hat and own a piece of history. Again, that is ARMS to 88022 to enter to win this contest and to join President Trump in the fight to keep America great for 4 more years. Paid for by Donald J. Trump for President Incorporated. So if you have tried to purchase ammunition either online or at your local gun shop lately, you may have discovered that it is really, really hard to do. And the media has discovered this as well. Just over the course of the past couple of days, I've seen a number of different stories. This is from KXII in the Texoma area, where I was once offered a job, by the way, as a videographer. Ended up turning it down and became an associate producer at a news station in Oklahoma City as well. But they say national ammo shortage making its way to the Texoma area. Gun sales still on the rise. In South Carolina, they're also reporting on a gun and ammunition shortage in the upstate area. That one of the customers at a local gun store in, I believe it was Greenville, South Carolina. Safeside Tactical in Roanoke, Virginia says, quote, "We are really in an ammo crisis." And they say the shortage has been growing for months. In fact, Mitchell Tyler, he's the co-owner of Safeside Tactical. He told WSLS that, quote, "In March, we started to see some of the ammo SKUs that we purchase frequently become less available." He said it's just become kind of progressively worse. At this point, we're really expecting this to go well into, are you ready for this? Next summer. Yeah, we're expecting this to go well into next summer. In fact, Safeside Tactical says they're now limiting ammo purchases, which is kind of probably, a moot point, because they're not able to get a lot of ammunition in. He says ammo is like our gasoline, right? He says you've got to have gas for your car. Firearms need ammo in order to run. He says when we sell a gun, customers expect to be able to purchase ammo so they can use the gun. When you come to our indoor ranges, people expect to be able to buy ammo to use at the range for target practice or a class. Now, this is interesting. We've talked about the record number of gun sales in this country since March, right? National Shooting Sports Foundation estimates that as many as 2 million Americans have become gun owners for the first time just since January. But there are a lot of gun owners who've gone ahead and they've purchased another firearm. We have seen this run on ammunition. So Safeside Tactical says the availability for ammunition at their store is down 90% compared to a year ago. Safeside Tactical and some other shops are actually making their own ammunition. Right now, Safeside Tactical is making 9mm. They say they'll soon be able to make 2 more calibers. But they also know that if the shortage continues, they say that won't be enough to keep up with the demand, in part because now some of the the component materials to make your own ammunition are in short supply as well. Tyler said that, quote, "A lot of folks learned a small part of this lesson in 2013 during the ammo shortage." He says that was more a warning than a crisis. Now we are really in an ammo crisis. And again, he doesn't expect that to abate until perhaps next summer. One more note for you, St. Paul, Minnesota, where Minnesota authorities ran more than 27,000 background checks for firearm sales in July, more than 3 times the number of checks in July of 2019. One Oakdale store, Get Guns Now, says sales are up by 400%. And yes, they too know that there is a firearm and ammunition shortage going on at the moment. So why are we seeing this? Is it simply that demand is outstripping supply? For the most part, yes. I mean, that really is the number one issue that's going on right now. The demand for firearms, the demand for ammunition has been at record high levels again since March. And that's not expected to subside at least through Election Day. If Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were to win in November, it's going to be even worse, quite frankly, because the demand is going to go even higher. So that is the big issue. But there are other issues as well. The coronavirus closures have impacted not only facilities here in the United States, but again, you get back to talking about ammunition components, and we've seen problems globally in terms of the supply chain. So the lead that we use in most ammunition, we don't have any lead smelters here in the United States. All of the lead smelters that are used to melt down the lead that we use in ammunition, the vast majority of those are in China. And so what has to happen is you'll see basically, old batteries, other things that have lead shipped from the United States over to China. That lead will then get smelted down and then get shipped back to the United States to be used in ammunition. Well, shipping is down substantially. Some of the supply chain issues may be popping up here in the United States, maybe a matter of getting that lead to China. It may also be a matter of getting that lead out of China. But other components as well. Copper, the price for copper has been steadily increasing. There have been a lot of problems in South America where some of the world's largest copper mines are located. As a matter of fact, there was one of the biggest copper mines in the world narrowly avoided a shutdown strike. Just a couple of weeks ago, the miners came to an agreement with the Argentinian government. But this, too, has been a problem in terms of being able to source the materials necessary to manufacture ammunition. So is there a chance that things could get better before next summer? Not a good chance, but there's a slight chance. So let's say that a vaccine for the coronavirus comes online. It is safe, it is effective, it is widely used. Things can start to maybe return to normal in terms of manufacturing, in terms of global shipping. That would alleviate a lot of the pressures on the supply line. Other than that, though, no, the chances really don't look good because the demand, as I said, is not going to drop anytime soon. Between now and Election Day, as long as there are, protests and violent protests taking place in U.S. cities, as long as places like New York and Chicago, Seattle, and Portland, other major American cities seeing a stark increase in violent crime, including shootings and homicides, more and more Americans are going to want to protect themselves with a firearm. In fact, it's interesting. We noted at Bearing Arms yesterday, there was a new poll out from Rasmussen asking about views on gun control. And they say that support for gun control has declined by 12 percentage points compared to when they asked this question a year ago, back in 2019, in August of 2019. This was right after the shooting in El Paso, Texas, at the Walmart there. Support for gun control, according to Rasmussen, was at 64%. Now it is down to 52%. You include the margin of error, and you're really looking at a 50-50 proposition. I suspect that those numbers are going to continue to drop, by the way, because, again, these cities don't have a handle on violent crime. In fact, in many cases, they're going in the wrong direction. In Portland, you've got the district attorney there who announced earlier this week, hey, we're going to drop charges against hundreds of these protesters. If you commit a really extraordinarily violent crime, yeah, we're going to charge you. But otherwise, chances are no, you're not going to be prosecuted for taking part in a riot. As a result, in Portland specifically, the Oregon State Police, which have been on the ground assisting the Portland Police Bureau for the past 2 weeks, they announced on Thursday they're leaving. They're pulling out. And they laid that decision squarely at the feet of the Multnomah County District Attorney, saying, listen, what is the point of us being here if the people who we arrest for violating the law are not going to get charged, if they're not going to get prosecuted? Why are we even bothering? We can go and we can dispatch these 100 officers that have been working in Portland with the Portland Police Bureau. We can put them back in other communities where the arrests that they make will actually lead to prosecution, will actually lead to consequences, as opposed to us just sitting here twiddling our thumbs and then making arrests only to see those individuals let go. It's no coincidence that Oregon is one of those states that has seen a massive run on firearm and ammunition purchases over the last couple of months. And it makes sense. I mean, as these cities devolve into chaos, Americans, more and more of them, want to be able to protect themselves. They want to be able to protect their families, even if they've never owned a gun before, even if they've always found guns to be somewhat icky, right? And they've always thought, oh, those weird gun nuts, I'd never be one of them. Well, as it turns out, some of them are actually becoming gun nuts, or at least reluctant gun owners. And the support for the Biden-Harris gun control agenda, which would ban the most commonly sold rifles in America today, turn you into a felon if you continue to possess them, ban the online sale of ammunition. Think about that. Think about just that for a moment. Under the Biden-Harris plan, it would be illegal for you to go online to a website and, pick your favorite and purchase ammunition online. You would be limited only to the selection that is found at the retail stores in your local area. And if you don't have any retail stores in your local area, you're out of luck. Here in Farmville, Virginia, we've got a great little local gun shop, Farmville Sporting Goods. But, they're just like every other store in the country right now. They're on what's called allocation, meaning they can put in a request to their distributor, say, listen, we want 10 cases of 9mm. And their distributor tells them, yeah, you and every other gun store that I work with want 10 cases of 9mm. And I don't have enough to give every one of you 10 cases of 9mm. I've got enough to give you 2 boxes of 9mm. Outside of Farmville Sporting Goods, my options here in Farmville are Walmart, which has stopped selling handgun and rifle ammunition, most rifle ammunition. You can't get .223 anymore, much less, 9mm or 45 ACP or common handgun calibers. So I can drive an hour to Richmond, Virginia. I can drive about an hour to Lynchburg, and I can go to Safe Side Tactical. I can drive about an hour to Charlottesville, but there aren't many gun store options actually in Charlottesville, Virginia. And it's actually close to about an hour and a half from Farmville. That would be what I would be required to do if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris get their way. And that's what you would be required to do if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris get their way. No going online and searching multiple websites to see who might have any ammo in stock. Nope. It would be forbidden for you and I and every other legal gun owner in the country to do that. Now, can you imagine the havoc that would create in this situation, in this environment that we're living in right now? So I wish that I had better news in terms of the ammo availability. Unfortunately, I don't. I really wish that I had better news as far as the ammo availability goes. But this is a situation that I think we're going to be dealing with for quite some time. Again, it's going to get worse depending on the results of the November election. And I suspect that it is probably going to get worse as we head into the November election. So as much as we've seen a run on firearms and ammunition between, let's say pre-riots, so, March, April, May, we had that 3-month period where gun sales already soared because of the coronavirus closures, the concern over unrest. Then when the protests began happening after the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, now you're looking at June, July, and August. So you've got 3 months where sales have gone even higher. Now we're getting into that period where we're, less than 90 days out from the presidential election. So September, October, November, I think that's going to be just as big because you've still got the coronavirus closures. You've still got the riots, the protests, the unrest. Now you add in the most anti-gun ticket in American history, possibly getting elected in November. That's going to send those gun sales even higher. Well, the demand for those sales even higher. The demand for ammunition is going to be even higher. And December is typically the busiest month of the year under normal circumstances for firearms and ammunition. I mean, that's typically the month that sees the highest number of NICS checks in any given year. So we're heading now into the busiest time for the firearms industry under traditional markers, and it's absolutely bananas. Again, the inventory is simply depleted. Warehouses have been cleaned out. If you had a distributor that had, under normal circumstances, 3, 4, 5, 6 months worth of inventory, they burned through that back in March. And the industry has now been attempting to play catch up ever since. So why don't we just see an increase in manufacturing? Why can't these companies retool and just start producing more ammo? Again, there are a couple of factors at work here. One, I mentioned the supply chain issues. So if you can't get more material, more raw material, then you can't add a third shift. You can't be working 24/7 because you don't have the materials necessary to make that ammunition. You can only produce as much based on the raw materials that you have. So that's one issue. The second issue, I think, really is a lesser concern, but it is still a genuine concern. It costs a lot of money to expand your facilities, and you're not going to do that based on a temporary spike in sales. Now, this spike, again, it's kind of hard to view this as temporary, given that we're now, March, April, May, June, July, August. We're now 6 months into this. But this is not going to be sustainable forever. At some point, maybe in early 2021, maybe you'll start to see things return to normal if Donald Trump wins election in November. Although we might not know who won the election until December. If that happens, then the demand might start to decrease a little bit. You can start to actually play catch up. But for the moment, that's just not a possibility. So you've got manufacturers that are working as fast as they can, both in terms of producing firearms and ammunition. Everybody in the industry is aware of what's happening. But the response is difficult because you don't know what that new normal is going to be. Now, I will say this. I think the new normal, when this spike or plateau, record-setting plateau, when it does start to decline, I think that new base level is going to be far higher than it was, a year ago, a year and a half ago. And that's not the first time we've seen that. We saw another spike in 2012, 2013. And then when things, returned to normal, quote unquote, that baseline level of firearm sales and ammunition sales was higher than it was in, say, 2010 or 2009. So, we are looking at, and the industry is looking at and trying to figure out, okay, what is that new baseline going to be? But you can't invest millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars in retooling a factory based on what may be a temporary, if not lengthy, but temporary spike in sales and spike in demand. So I wish that, again, it was a clearer picture for these manufacturers. It might make it easier for them to make those decisions about, all right, are we going to try to expand? Are we going to, build a new facility entirely to keep up with this demand? But for the time being, I think for the most part, these manufacturers are going to be working with what they have, trying to expand their hours and, maybe go to a third shift whenever possible. But again, with the materials crunch that they're facing, they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. You've got the demand for firearms on one end, you've got supply issues on the other, and it's a difficult position. for these manufacturers to be in for the moment and likely for the months to come. So there you go. That is what has happened to our ammunition supply. And that is likely what we are going to see and going to be dealing with for several more months in terms of our ability to both purchase ammunition and to use that ammunition at the range and, take part in firearms training activities and things of that nature. All right, let's move on to our armed citizen story, our good deed of the day, our recidivist report. Before we do that, however, just another reminder that the Trump campaign does have a special offer just for you. President Trump really wants to give you a signed 2020 Make America Great Again hat. And he wants to make sure that the lucky winner is one of his top supporters. Be sure to enter soon because this is an opportunity that you won't want to miss. Offer only going to a select group of supporters. You are one of them. And all you have to do is text ARMS to 88022 today to enter to win a signed 2020 Make America Great Again hat and own a piece of history. Again, that is ARMS, ARMS, to 88022 to enter to win this contest and join President Trump in the fight to keep America great for 4 more years. Paid for by Donald J. Trump for President Incorporated. All right, we're going to start with our recidivist report. Story out of Mississippi, where a suspect arrested in connection with a shooting at Horn Lake that ended in the death of a woman murdered in front of her young child. According to WLBT, authorities took the suspect into custody on Thursday night. 23-year-old Corey Woods is that suspect in question. Neighbors report that he apparently knew this victim. According to investigators, after the shooting, Woods took off in a white Honda Accord that was found in Memphis, Tennessee. A few hours later, Woods was not in the vehicle. They had an additional address in Hernando, Mississippi for Woods. That's where apparently they were able to take him into custody. According to WLBT, Corey Woods has a record in Memphis, Tennessee. In fact, in 2017, 3 years ago, he pleaded guilty to shooting into a crowded parking lot. Police say there was an argument that led to the shooting. Shooting was captured on cell phone video. Thankfully, nobody was hit, but the intent was there on the part of Corey Woods. He would have been 20 years old at the time, maybe 21, so he was a legal adult. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Corey Woods asked for diversion, and the judge said no, but then turned around and turned that 2-year prison sentence into a probationary sentence instead. So I'm not going to divert you away from prison, but I'm going to divert you away from prison, just under a different name. Amazing that here we are 3 years later, and Woods, who suffered virtually no consequences for shooting into a crowded parking lot 3 years ago, is now accused of first-degree murder. He's in custody at the DeSoto County Detention Center in Hernando, Mississippi. And if we get more information and details on this brutal crime, we will bring them to you. Today's armed citizen story from South Carolina, where a customer confronted a couple of armed robbery suspects at a Waffle House. Yeah, how about that? Officers charged 19-year-old Jamal Ford, 22-year-old Kenji Yates with attempted armed robbery. Investigators say this happened around midnight on Tuesday at a Waffle House there in Columbia, South Carolina. According to officials, the suspects walked into the business, pointed guns at the cook, and then demanded money. One of the customers there inside the Waffle House, a legal gun owner, a concealed carry holder, who confronted the suspects. News 19 WLTX in Columbia says that gunfire was exchanged in the restaurant. The suspects ran away without any money. Nobody was injured, thankfully. Deputies and canine units able to track down the suspects after a perimeter and track had been set up. And the pair of armed robbers now taking a brief vacation in the local jail. Finally today, our good deed of the day from Elmira, New York. You can take a look at these images where a couple of Elmira Heights, where a couple of officers, including Brad Morrill, able to help out an elderly couple with a tire change. Morrill said he could actually hear the couple's car coming down the road before he even saw it. He said there was an elderly couple in their car. They're trying to get up the mile to get a tire change. I heard him coming, he said, before I actually saw the tire. He said, I could see smoke coming out of the vehicle. You could hear it. He said, I just decided instead of putting through the hassle of having the car towed or having to park the vehicle or anything like that, I just decided to change the tire. He said, I wanted to make sure that, they didn't get to a point in the traffic where the speed limit then increases. They're driving faster. He said, I want to make sure they were safe and everybody around them were safe. So he and others simply in the right place at the right time, able to do the right thing, change the tire for that elderly couple. Brad Morrill said, back when I started the academy, I said, my biggest thing is I want to be able to help people. And it's something that I'd still continue to do. That's what I take the most pride in, is when I'm able to help someone in some way, might be the smallest way possible. And Brad Morrill went on to say, I know police officers are kind of getting a bad rep around the country. He said, just remember, a small percentage of what could be bad cops doesn't define us all. The majority are here to do good. We want to help people. We want not only to enforce the law, but to make sure that everybody is safe. And Brad Morrill there in Elmira Heights, New York, able to do that for that elderly couple in the right place at the right time, able to do the right thing. And we thank him and other officers for their very good deed. Now, that is all the time we've got for you on this edition of Bearing Arms Cam & Company. Thank you very much for being a part of the program today. Enjoy your weekend. We'll be back on Monday with more of the latest Second Amendment news and information. I might allocate myself. I could probably get away with 25, maybe 50 rounds of a 22 to do some plinking this weekend, but I am on tight rations as well. And hopefully you get a chance to do a little bit of shooting, maybe dig into your stock just a little bit. Happy shooting to you. Good luck. Until we talk again, be safe, be well, be free, and we'll see you soon with another edition of Bearing Arms Cam & Company.